find your last blood pressure reading. Because a reading like 130/60 can be more dangerous than a 140/85. Now do one thing. Take the bottom number, subtract it from the top. That gap, that's your number. Write it down. Here's what almost nobody's told you. After 60, it's the gap that matters. And once that gap climbs past 60, a 1999 Framingham study says it's worth taking seriously. If your gap is wide, that's not a diagnosis. It's a number to put in front of your doctor. Keep it handy. Let's start. So what is that gap, really? Doctors have a name for it, pulse pressure. But forget the term. Here's what it means. Your top number is the push when your heart beats. The bottom number is the rest between beats. The gap between them tells you how stiff your arteries have become. When you're young, your arteries are soft and springy. They stretch with every beat. That keeps the gap small, around 40. After 60, arteries stiffen. They stop cushioning the push, so the top number rises, the bottom can even fall, and the gap widens. A gap of 60, 70, or more isn't about a bad habit. It's a window into the age of your arteries. And here's the part that catches people off guard. You can have a normal-looking top number and still have a dangerous gap. That's why 130/60 can worry a doctor more than 140/85. The first has a gap of 70. The second, just 55. Now, one thing before we go further, and it matters more than anything else in this video. This number is not a reason to touch your medication. Not to stop it, not to change the dose, not to skip a day. If you take blood pressure pills, keep taking them exactly as prescribed. A wide gap is a reason to call your doctor, never a reason to self-adjust. Stopping a blood pressure medicine on your own can cause a stroke. Are we clear? Good. So with your medicine safely in place, why does the gap matter so much after 60? The answer comes from the longest-running heart study in history. In 1948, researchers in Framingham, Massachusetts, started tracking thousands of people's hearts for decades. And when they looked at everyone over 60, they found something that changed how cardiologists think. Of the 3 ways to read blood pressure, the top number, the bottom number, and the gap. The gap was the strongest single predictor of heart disease. Not the number you watch, the one you were never told to look at. And the risk climbs with the gap. In one analysis, every 10-point rise in that gap was linked to about a 31% higher risk of a cardiovascular event. Linked, not guaranteed. It's a marker, not a verdict. But it's a marker most people never see. Here's how it hides in someone whose top number looked perfect the whole time. Imagine a man, 68, who checks his blood pressure at home. The top number looks fine, around 130. His doctor's happy. He's happy. But watch the bottom number over a few years. 70, then 66, then 60, then 56. The top stayed calm, but the gap kept widening. 60, 64, 70, 74. His arteries were stiffening quietly, and nobody was watching the one number that showed it. He felt fine. Right up until the morning, he didn't. That's the danger of a number nobody circles. Not that it screams, that it whispers, for years. Now the part nobody puts next to that number, the price. When a stiff, narrowed artery finally blocks, the fix is often bypass surgery. And here's what that costs. The hospital bill for a bypass runs a median of about $218,000. Insurers negotiate that down, but what lands on you depends entirely on your coverage. In the U.S. on Medicare in 2026, the hospital deductible alone is $1,736. And traditional Medicare caps nothing on a long stay. Other plans can run to $10,000 or more. Wherever you live, the bill for waiting dwarfs the cost of the check. So the real range isn't zero. It's thousands to tens of thousands, to a bill most people can't imagine. The check that catches this costs nothing. A cuff you already own. 2 seconds of subtraction. The surgery that waits is billed at $218,000. That's the most expensive subtraction you'll ever skip, so here's exactly what to do. 3 steps, and none of them cost a thing. 1. For the next 3 mornings, take your blood pressure at rest. Same time, sitting, feet flat. Write down both numbers. 2. Each day, subtract the bottom from the top. That's your gap. Note it. 3. Take those 3 numbers to your doctor and ask one question. Is my pulse pressure in a healthy range for my age? And if not, what should we do about it? That's it. Not a diagnosis you make, a question you ask. And one last time, because it's that important, this number is never a reason to change your medication on your own. It's a reason to have a conversation. Bring the number. Let your doctor make the call. That's the whole point. Because here's the truth this channel is built on. The warning signs your body gives you almost always come with a price tag. And the cheapest moment to act is the one everybody misses. You just found the number your doctor never circles. Now you know what it means and what it's worth. Tell me in the comments, what's your gap? And send this to someone over 60 who's only ever watched the top number. Subscribe to Watch the Unknown. I am from The Body Bill. Every body sign has a price tag. See you next week.